P3 Pop med Ika Johannesson.
I didn't know what the fuck we were trying to do. I didn't understand. All I knew was every time I picked up a guitar, nothing happened. Every time we set up as a band to play, nothing happened.
Thom Yorke, sångare i engelska Radiohead, om hur det var att börja skriva låtar efter den enorma succén med OK Computer. Jag träffade Thom Yorke efter Radioheads och flera gånger under konserten i Globen så har man svenska radioröster bland gitarrerna.
It's kind of insane to do it every night. Yeah, I've been listening to some of the tapes of the gigs we were doing in America, and some of the stuff that happens before you start up, it's just fantastic. And it's just total accident. Some nights the things that come up on the radio are just appalling. But what he does is he uses an echo and a tuner. So whatever it is, he can kind of tune it and try and make it musical. So.
But do you prefer to have talk or music when or doesn't it matter?
I think he does. He has specific channels programmed in or something. I've never bothered to find out really. But the stuff I prefer is definitely the music stuff, because it's incredible how you can make whatever music it is fit things if you have a few little effects. You can, and it's nice to do that rather than having it the same every night. I mean, it makes you kind of a nervous wreck. Like we don't really use. We've tried using, regular samples and boxes, but the only samples that we use are just of sounds. We don't use anything because it's just so boring. It's such a dull experience to have a loop running or whatever. When Johnny does Idiotech, that box that he uses to the drum machine box that he uses is a nightmare. It goes in and out of time. It starts at one speed, it speeds up through the track, it slows down, it drops out. It's just awful.
Why does it change it?
It just does. I don't know. I don't know what it is. It's the way it's built. It's to do the voltage. If there's a voltage surge or something, it freaks out, all this sort of shit. And sensibly, we'd really just sort of like get lots of safe gear and do it safe, but for some reason it makes more sense to if it's shit, then sorry about we've done we've just stopped at Idiotech at the end and just gone, sorry, that was crap, and then do the next one. And in a way that's more fun. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but then that's like what we do when we record. Suddenly things fall into place and you find yourself really kind of moved with it or something, and that's sort of what music's about for us, really, is sort of setting up in a room or whatever in front of people and just working at trying to find those moments. I'd kind of forgotten that, and then I went back and I'd forgotten how exciting it is when things click. It's amazing, absolutely amazing.
Förra gången Radiohead var i Skandinavien var i höstas, då bandet gav 2 konserter och publiken fattade knappt något, och låtarna kändes väldigt ramlösa och konstiga.
I think the only thing different is that we're not fighting with them as much because we're more familiar with them now, and I think having played them as we say, people, they get familiar with the records and it means more to them. I think 50% of what goes on is down to, when you do a live show, is down to the audience. And if the audience, when we did our first shows, we did the first tour, don't ask me why, because I just can't remember that meeting, but we decided to do the first tour before anyone had really heard anything, actually had the record. Especially in Britain anyway. We did 2 weeks where no one knew a note of what was going on except from bootlegs, and that was just bizarre. Trying to you launch into something like Idiotech and people are going, what the fuck is this? It's just nobody's got a clue. And so it's nice to come back and once people have got their heads around it, that and that extended to sort of the reviews and stuff as well. Lots of people were just sort of, don't have time for this. you know, which really hurt actually at the time. But I think it feels really good to sort of have toured, you know, gone to America and played the shows and have lots of people really know the material. It's sort of like, okay, maybe we weren't wrong after all, you know, because it kind of freaked me out quite a lot, you know, when Kid A came out, some of the stuff that was sort of said and that. It just totally, I didn't understand, didn't compute at all.
What part of it didn't you understand?
That people were so angry, like other people in bands and shit were really fucking furious with what we'd done. It was like, what? Why? You know, what? It was weird.
När Kid A släpptes i oktober förra året så blev det såklart folkstorm i England. Radiohead-backlashen var i full... Bland annat Oasis basunerade ut att Radiohead var fegisar.
I think basically they were threatened by it. So ultimately that's a compliment, you know, in the same way that every time Aphex Twin brings out a record, I'm threatened by that because I think he's a genius. It makes me want to give up, you know. I guess it's maybe a bit of that. Maybe just, you know, they really need to take a break, chill out, stop making the same fucking record.
Were they people you respected?
No, not at all.
Then why did you care?
I cared because it was sort of like I was just really shocked that anybody would even bother publicly coming out and saying it. It was just totally phased me out. It's like, what, you know, I don't say stuff about that normally, really, unless people deserve it. The bands that sort of affected me when they played live were bands like Sonic Youth. Like we played Sonic Youth, we did some god-awful radio station bullshit promotion thing, which there's an awful lot of in the States. You know, you come and play our show, maybe we might consider possibly playing your record, but probably not. And Sonic Youth came on, and it was like a revolving stage thing in Hollywood. They came on after Oasis, who were pretty good actually. But they came on and they'd start playing before the stage revolved around, so you could see them. And they played, everybody had a 20-minute slot. And they played one song. And it's like the best song on Washing Machine. It's an absolutely amazing song, I can't remember what it's called. And it was the most exciting thing I've ever seen. I'd never heard the song before, nothing. But it was like, everybody hated it. Everybody, you know, they were sort of furious, but it was like so amazing to be standing right at the front and everybody going, oh God. But they were so into it and it was so exciting, and it was like, they didn't care at all. They just did not, you know, and the sounds they were making and stuff, it was just, none of these people in this room are going to get this, and I don't know. It just, I think a live, like, you know, 90% of live music is all about pressing the right buttons, and everybody going home satisfied. You know what I mean? It's sort of like showbiz, and it's a bit, you know, everybody feels like they got their money's worth and stuff. And I think when we were doing OK Computer, that's where we were at. That's what we felt that we ought to be doing, and it feels so good to sort of like have moved on beyond that now.
Medlemmarna i Radiohead har känt varandra sedan tonåren, men man kan säga att bandet bildades på riktigt 1987.
Every time you make a record, there are things you accumulate that you have to get out, which equally happened on OK Computer. But with Kid A and Amnesiac, the trouble that we had. For about a year, I had sort of really serious writer's block, because from where I was sitting, no matter what we did next, we were damned. It just didn't matter if we'd done exactly this. If we'd gone back to doing the bends, like, you know, which, you know, probably would have sold well. If we'd done OK Computer again, that would have sold well. You know, it would be nice. You know, everybody would. But we'd have been probably slagged off for it, because they're like, you know, whatever, you know. It would ultimately have nothing we could do would make those fuckers happy. I kind of just couldn't get my head around that. It took me a long time to sort of come to terms with having to just let go of what people thought. And I think it brought with it like this really weird pressure, which made it very difficult for a long time to know what sort of state of mind we were trying to achieve or were at. Because like when we did the initial sessions, both sessions were fraught with 1 minute incredibly amazing, exciting things happening, and then 10 minutes later I'm tearing it to shreds and insisting that we move on to something else, because I couldn't cope with A, committing to something that maybe people would then pull apart, and B, I didn't know what the fuck we were trying to do. I didn't understand. All I knew was every time I picked up a guitar, nothing happened. Every time we set up as a band to play, nothing happened, or very rarely, you know. So it was like, what the hell are we going to do, you know? But then sort of out of it, this really much deeper thing started emerging, which really came from a landscape and a place that I live, a house that I have, which I'm not going to tell you where it is, but
it's in England.
Yeah, it's in England, and it's got this really fraught landscape. And I spent, you know, hours and days just wandering around on my own and stuff, and and everything kind of figured itself out. And you know, the music really was coming out of the landscape as far as I was concerned, and the words were coming out of the stones on the ground, and you know, the falling rock, and that's really where, as far as I'm concerned, that's really where it came from.
Radiohead på Kid A och Amnesiac, där texterna är mer packade med åsikter än tidigare, så beslutade Thom Yorke att inte skriva ut dem i konvolutet.
The reason I didn't put the lyrics on either of the records is because I didn't feel it was appropriate. Because
Why?
Because what would happen is people would have jumped on the lyrics and would have misread them, and I didn't think it was necessary to put across the sentiment that we were trying to put across. I mean, in retrospect, it might have been a mistake, but I'm actually really proud of the fact that on Kid A there was this hidden booklet on some of the, you know, and that hidden booklet, to me, explains both records completely without having to use the lyrics. It's like all the sort of mania around what we were doing, all the stuff that woke me up in the middle of the night, and it's not just my writing; some of it's some Stanley's as well. And that's actually, as far as we're concerned, the thing we're most proud of artwork-wise over the two records was that booklet. It's a shame that we couldn't print it up more, because I mean it's very offensive, but it's kind of, you know, it's totally what was going on in our heads when we were working. But at the time I didn't think it was a good idea, because at the time I didn't want people to analyse them, because that kind of totally wasn't the point. You know, on OK Computer it was just ridiculous. You know, words that were supposed to be taken as a joke were just like chewed over, and it was just, oh fuck's sake, you know, that's something else, totally taken out of context, and it just really pissed me off.
Is it important for you that people understand what you're singing about?
Only sometimes, because sometimes I'm not bloody singing anything anyway. Sometimes the words are absolutely incidental, like on Everything in Its Right Place. The words are totally incidental. That's why I keep repeating them, because it's not the point. You know, sometimes words are just wallpaper. Sometimes they should just be wallpaper. You can read things into them, and obviously I wrote them for a reason. But as I'm singing them and as I'm putting them in the music at 6, they're to be treated as wallpaper. You know, and then other times words that just fly by, that don't seem to mean anything, like an Idiotech, are like the words that I'm most proud of all the stuff on both records, because that goes into this sort of mania thing that I was having at the time. So I think it's very easy. I think, you know, it's the fucking post-Freudian rubbish, You know, people just tend to jump on. The thing with music is that, you know, with songs, the words are only part of the deal. They always are. Even if you're bloody Bob Dylan, they're only part of what's going on. You know. Even if you're a rap artist, they're only half of what's going on, you know.
I den lilla foldern som följer med vissa utgåvor av Kid A så har konstnären Stanley Donwood och Thom York under pseudonymen T-Shocky och framför den för den som vill lyssna. Och när han kommer in på det så sjunker han ihop i soffan och blir väldigt liten.
They try and sort of find a story that matches, you know, and then they just hammer that story, even though you don't agree with it. Everything, they'll just write stuff to make it fit, you know. And they've done that to lots and lots of people. They did that with Ritchie from the Manics. They did that with Kurt Cobain. And eventually, you know, you start to believe stuff, and you just go potty, and you're followed around by this person. You go into like a bookshop, and they'll have the music biographies, and every fucking one of them is like commit suicide, or, you know, like the John Lennon section, you know, is horrendous. It's sick, man. You know, and if you start to sort of think about it in those terms, then you just go absolutely round the bend. I was going to say, oh yeah, and that was the weird thing about towards the end of Kid A and Amnesia. I did the session with Bjork and the session with Polly Harvey for their record, and that's what we talked about when I met both of them. And it was amazing how it was something that Polly had really badly for ages, and Bjork's had it as well, you know, and Bjork's sort of learned to deal with it, and Polly's learned to deal with it, and they've got their ways of dealing with it. It was really inspiring, like, to sort of, you know, see people who've sorted themselves out, other than Michael as well. It's like, it's possible to do, but I think it's just one of those things. As far as I'm concerned, what I think is wrong with the music industry is that you know, it tends to wipe out the people that it should be looking after, and it tends to look after the people that should really be wiped out.
Do you really care as much about what people think? Because you keep returning to it, because I keep reading about it, but somehow I didn't think it was true. Somehow I thought it was like a newspaper hoax that you cared so much.
Yeah, I think basically, I think that it just came from a complete lack of confidence. Like when we finished OK Computer, I absolutely hated what we'd done. I hated where we ended up. I hated, you know, like the REM song, Sad Professor. I hate where I wound up. That was just absolutely it for me. I couldn't believe it when he wrote that, because that was my life. You know, I couldn't bear for so many reasons, and so I jumped upon the criticisms, because these were the criticisms that I said. You know, I felt like sort of saying to people, like, you know, listen, I agree. I absolutely agree with all you're saying, because I've had this fucking voice in my head for years saying exactly the same thing. But now I don't, and now I'm sort of getting over it, you know, because now I think we bloody have earned the right to get over it, you know. So I think you have to have it happen to you in order to get over it. You have to have people turn on you in order to understand what it was you were trying to do in the first place, really. So I think I've got my head around it now, which is a really nice feeling. Kind of means I can go back to being, you know, channeling into what it was that I couldn't channel into for so long when we were trying to do Kid A and Amnesiac, you know.
Is that also saying that before that you couldn't, that Radiohead was a part of you all the time, and now that you can take a step out of it and that take a step out of Radiohead?
Yeah, long enough to know what's good about it. That's all. Long enough to appreciate how good this band is for me, you know. And I certainly was not in that headspace when we were doing the record.
Och en annan del av tillfredsställelsen beror på att han ganska nyligen blivit pappa.
Yeah, he's called Noah. He's 7 months old, actually. Yeah.
But how has that affected you?
I'm less willing to tear things to shreds. Because A, I don't have time, and B, you know, there's this incredibly beautiful thing that I come home to every day, which is my own son. Obviously, he's the most beautiful boy that's ever been born.
Of course.
And naturally. And so, you know, it makes things a little bit easier, really. Kind of makes you realise what it was you wanted from music in the first place. That's what's happened for me, anyway. Makes you realise why you love it, sort of thing.
So having a baby makes you realise what you want from music?
Yeah, can't explain why, but it's true.
Jag bad Thom Yorke att välja ut en låt som betyder mycket för honom när han jobbar med mig iväg för att hämta öl för att kunna komma på en riktigt viktig låt.
I'd say the one that was most influential for me is called Freeman, Hardy and Willis Acid, and it's by Square Pusher and Aphex Twin, and it was from a commemorative Warp album. I heard it on John Peel when I was driving, and I had to stop the car because I was going to get into an accident, you know. It's basically it just basically completely changed the way I thought about music. There's a few things in my life that have just completely changed the way I thought about music, and that was one of them. Another one was, you know, Mingus, and another one was hearing Queen when I was 10, you know, and that was one of those times. I wouldn't say there's any particular emotion attached to it, other than seeing God, really. You know, when you hear music that is sort of, you know, it's sort of like you believe in God again, sort of thing. It's that sort of, anyway, it sounds really wanky, but it's true. You know, it's so violent. Like, this track is so violent, and it's so destructive, and it's so frightening, like in a really weird way. And that sort of fright was basically what stayed with me when we were trying to do Kid A and Amnesia. That level of fright.
Does that mean that you wanted Kid A and Amnesia to have some sort of level of fright?
Yeah, oh yeah. Because fright was what I had anyway, and it was sort of like, you know, you need to hear something. You need to hear, like with the Smiths, or, you know, you needed to hear the Smiths in order to make it alright, to feel that thing that you were feeling in that particular moment, that you couldn't make coherent. They managed to do it, and therefore it's alright. Same Joy Division or Sibelius, or, you know, something makes you just go, fuck, it's alright. You know, and that's what I had with that tune. It's okay to want to drive this car off the side of the motorway at 100 miles an hour.
Do you know what it was in the song that gave you this feeling? Like, was it a bass line? Was it like some sort of sound?
It was everything. I mean, specifically, it had like a million hi-hats going in different places, which I thought was amazing. I mean, it was sort of like a drum and bass track, but just so not a drum and bass track. It was sort of everything that I hoped drum and bass was going to be, but it never was. Well, at least not initially. I mean, it's still going. You know, when I first sort of started hearing drum and bass, I thought, this is it. This is punk again. This is. You know, I went to a couple of drum and bass clubs in Bristol, and it was just fucking amazing, brilliant. And then it all just, I don't know, it didn't really happen, because I think I sort of think that it never crossed over the edge enough for its power to have really been used to its full potential. I mean, if that had been on, you know, if like early drum and bass had got on to mainstream radio, it would have been like a bomb going off. But it never happened. Instead, we got garage.
And then two-step.
Yeah, nice. That ain't punk.
Have you started writing new material at all?
Bits and pieces. There's lots of stuff floating around, but I think I'm actually trying to take a break. I'm trying to take a break from music, generally, because I think it would be good for me.
Why?
Because last time round, you know, we had like a blackboard thing with all the unfinished ideas on it, and there's about 60 or 70 of them, and it was just absolutely a nightmare. And the temptation is, like, you know, you do this for a living, so you do it for a living. You get up in the morning and you work all through the day. You don't think about what you're doing at all. And that's, you know, even though you hate what you're doing, you still do it. And that's sort of what I did for too long, I think. So I'm trying to sort of, you know, just chill out. Of course, Johnny's working like a fiend at the moment. But I just need to take a break, I think. I used to be militant about sort of trying, you know, just working all the time. Whereas now I'll play a song, whatever, and I'll work on something, but I'm not, you know, stressing about it. Because, you know, a lot of time when I listen to stuff that we do, I just hear my stress, and I'm sick of hearing it. You know what I mean?
How do you view the band today and yourself within the band?
Well, I'm actually sort of proud of what we've done for the first time. But, you know, that's basically it, really. You know, I'm sort of proud to be in this band now, so that's good.
What are you going to do next, music-wise? Since you're having a break from music,
yeah,
that is.
Well, Johnny's doing a film thing, apparently, but he's in charge. It's brilliant. It's totally his rap. I'm taking no responsibility at all. Totally his bag.
But you're going to be in it as well?
I might do some stuff, yeah, but, you know, it's his thing. That's it.
What kind of movie is it?
It's all like old footage of the body or something. It's very strange. I don't quite understand. Anyway, it's totally his thing. But that's kind of what's happening next, which will be nice because it's a project where, you know, I don't feel in any way responsible for, and I can totally chill. I'm not sure this is a good thing. I don't know, Thom chilling, I'm not sure. Maybe it's all just going badly wrong. I'm going to start like writing Lovers Rock and it's all going to go really shit. Oh dear.
It's like the last of the great.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I remember when he lost it, man. He got all mellow. Oh.
You have to get anguished again,
Yeah.
Otherwise it won't work.
I'll take the anguish pills.
Come